Welcome to another edition of PENSDOWN, the program that gives journalists an opportunity to tell us about their journalism journey and all they go through in the line of duty as they get to bring the news to us. Today, I have a veteran with me, senior journalist who has seen it all. He is a journalist based in Accra, Ghana, with 40 years experience on the job. He's a former member of the governing board of the state-owned Ghana News Agency, having served from March 2015 to July 2017. Currently, he is the Ghana writer for the U.S. News Service Associated Press, AP for short, and a writer for scienceanddevelopment.net, as well as the University World News. For over a decade, he was the West Africa correspondent for the Indian-based Indo-Asian News Service, IANS, and has also served as special correspondent for the American daily USA Today, for which he reported on Ghana and Nigeria. For many years, he served as the Ghana correspondent for the Nation Group of Kenya and was at the same time a correspondent for Bloomberg BNA, covering tax, transfer pricing, and data protection across Africa. Other media houses he has worked for include Africa Today magazine, London, UK, as the Ghana Bureau Chief and Assistant Editor for the Pan-African magazine, News Africa, London, UK. He's also been a writer for Afrique Echi in Paris, France, and the Ghana writer for the Dow Jones Newswires, that is the Wall Street Journal. He started his career with the Ghanaian Times in Ghana as a reporter, and then moved on to become the London correspondent of the African Concord magazine, and later a staff writer for the African Economic Digest. He is a founding member of the Ovation magazine, where he wrote a column. Having graduated from the Ghana Institute of Journalism in 1981, he became a press fellow of the Wolfson College, University of Cambridge in 1990. I have been joined today by Mr. Francis Kokutse. Very, very excited to have you today, sir.
Thank you.
How are you doing? And a happy new year to you.
Same to you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. 40 years in journalism. My goodness. You have been doing the same thing over and over again for 40 years. Haven't you gotten tired at any point?
The truth is, I see writing more of a hobby.
Oh, okay.
As a child, I had always wanted to be a writer.
Okay.
Then my father was, my late father, who is was a draftsman, wanted me to be an architect, to take it a step further.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the writing took me away from that bit. And by the time I got to secondary school, all I ever wanted to do was to become a journalist. And I think one person who moved me at that tender age was Cameron Dodo. He had a column in the Graphic called Order of the Dead Vulture.
Okay.
Which I never missed. And by the time I went to secondary school Form 1, I had been so consumed with becoming like Cameron Dodo. And that's how I got the bag.
Wow. So Cameron Dodo as your inspirer, that means it takes you back so many years.
Exactly.
Was it before you went to Ghana Institute of Journalism that you discovered him, or you started reading his pieces?
I started reading him when I was in middle school.
Oh.
You know, I had a big sister who read the newspapers, and I was the one who went out to buy the papers every morning. So when I come home, they read and they talk about Cameron Dodo's style. And I think along the line, I got caught with Cameron Dodo's style of writing.
Wow.
And I just wanted to be like him.
Is there any top figure within the last 40 years you have practiced journalism that you so wish to interview or sit down to have a conversation with for publication that you've not been able to have that opportunity?
Captain Kojo Chikata was somebody
legendary.
I wanted to, I wanted to interview him because I read a few about things he did in Angola, South Africa, and the Congo. And then along the line, I became friends with Major Boachijan.
Okay.
Who has become a friend to today. He told me a few things about him. And I wanted to confirm those stories.
Okay.
You know, like how they met, how they fell out and all that. I really wanted to confirm those stories. Unfortunately, I never got the opportunity.
So you've lived through, if we are looking at a generation as 10 years, at least for the purposes of this discussion, you've lived through 4 generations of journalism practice.
Yeah.
In terms of quality of practice, discipline, and the potency of the published words, as far as putting leadership on its feet, which of the generations really had it? And what do you think is missing if today we don't have it?
You know, every generation thinks they are better than the new one. So it is very difficult to say, like, when I go to the Times newsroom at the time, the older people felt they were better than we who were coming. And most of them were not trained in any institution. They learn the job, they learn on the job. And so I think this thing keeps running. Every generation thinks they are better. If you look at the newsrooms today, we have people who are more qualified than my generation. We have people with masters. So
that's right.
You know, it will be very difficult to say that they are not doing well. Perhaps what one can say is that there has been a disconnect in the media space. I say this because I'll use the Ghana News Agency as an example. Once upon a time, we had people like Bright Blue, Franka Jekum, Kokutse Chiado, and Awune. They were those who were like between the top and between the top and the middle people. And the expectation then was people are trained to take over, where a crop of journalists moved out of the profession between 1990 and 1992. And if I use the Times newsroom to as an example, I left, a few other people left about the same time, but we were the people that the seniors were training to take over from them, and we left. So if you look at the kind of training that we went through and we left, I don't think those who came after us were groomed like the way we were groomed. So that could be the problem. That could be the problem, because for one, I was working under a news editor, Joseph Okarijan, who made me know from the very first day I entered there that I was going to take over from him. And the first thing he did was, after 6 months, he sent me to Takoradi as a regional correspondent. That was in '82. And then I stayed in Takoradi for a while. He brought me to Kofredia. And I finally got to Accra. He made sure I was sent to the castle before I ended up in a newsroom. And anytime I was going for editorial conference, you pushed me to follow him.
Wow.
You see, and on the subjects in the newsroom at the time, people were taken to the subjects at a very early age and trained. My late friend, James Macaulay, he didn't report much. He was sent to the subjects and he worked on the subjects till he retired. So you find that grooming took place. I don't know whether we still groom. If we don't groom now, I think that is where the problem is.
There is a running debate among some of the practitioners. Indeed, I spoke with one of the senior colleagues, one of the veterans, Mr. Kokutse, and he made a strong point for the fact that journalists should be licensed in Ghana. According to him, it is one of the steps at ensuring sanity is brought into the practice. First of all, do you agree with him? And if you do, what will be your argument in favor of licensing journalists?
I would agree with him to a point because you see, professions evolve. And if you look at other professions, they kind of take you through a process of training and they give you a license to practice. I think we have reached a point where there should be some form of orientation given to anybody who wants to be a journalist. It shouldn't be for those who went to institutions alone, but it should be for anybody who works in the newsroom. You go through a process of orientation. You are taken through some kind of, not necessarily coursework, but you are exposed to what is expected of you as a journalist and all that. And then you are given a license to operate. I think it will help check some of the similar exercises that we have today.
Oh, okay. So
but aside of that too, I think there's a need for what I see as training in the newsrooms, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, let me get back to you and your years of practice. I see an impressive role of a number of foreign media platforms that you work for. How did they start?
Okay. I was, the very first day I went to the Times newsroom, you know, I was very excited, but two of the older ones called me aside and then told me that, oh, you shouldn't have come here. You are young, and look at us. I felt disappointed on that day. Fortunately for me, I had an old senior from secondary school who was working at the Ghana News Agency. Seto Gagakuma is his name.
Okay.
So I went to him to complain because I saw him doing well. And compared to what these people said to me, I thought, come on, there must be something to it. So when I met Seto, he told me, with every profession, you have the poor and you have the rich ones. We have poor doctors and rich doctors, poor lawyers and rich lawyers. So the first thing he did for me on that day was to ask me to start writing for a news service that was based in Nairobi at the time, All Africa, I think All Africa News Service. It was owned by the All Africa Council of Churches.
Okay.
He gave me the address and asked me to write to them. And I wrote the first story. At the end of the month, I had, I think, $50.
Oh, wow.
Which was more like, which was about half my salary at the time.
For one story.
So that Attrition was, yeah.
Oh.
So I got hooked to it. Initially, I saw it as a training process.
Okay.
And don't forget too that I said I wanted to be like Cameron Dodo. And at that point of my life, I saw Cameron writing for a lot of international media organizations. So I said, well, that was the first step to becoming like Cameron Dodo.
Wow. So this person who introduced you to this platform in Kenya gave you your first opportunity with a foreign media, but that was in Africa.
Exactly.
Now, majority of those I have read in respect of your profile have to do with Asia, America, Europe. So at what point did it move beyond the borders of the continent?
Okay, from the first one, the next one I did was a magazine called Poultry International, which was based in the US.
Okay.
Then there was a British journalist who came to Accra, Patrick Smith. He's now the editor for
the Africa Report. Yes.
Yeah. He introduced me to some of the London papers at the time. So I think I was lucky. I was lucky I met people who introduced me. I mean, because even with the INS, for instance, it was an old Indian friend who just called me one day and they said, oh, I think you can write for these people. They introduced me. With Daily Nation Kenya, it was the same thing. An old friend, can't remember his name now, but he's a Ugandan.
Okay.
He introduced me to Daily Nation. So I would say I've been lucky.
Okay. Let's look at it this way. You were trained in Ghana, you started practicing in Ghana, and then opportunities started coming from outside. When you got the opportunities outside, especially outside Africa, did you begin to realize that you needed to step up your game to be able to remain competitive on those platforms, or your training and grooming here was just enough for you to remain competitive and always get your stories published?
You see, media houses outside, they train you. When you write your first story and you send to them, you see the way they have turned it out.
Yes.
And and you also know that you have to keep up the standard or you lose it.
Yeah.
So you look at your first story and you use that to match whatever you do after that.
Yeah. Okay, I see. So in terms of remuneration, you tasted what is in Ghana. You went beyond the shores of Ghana, somewhere east into East Africa, Kenya, and then outside the continent. In terms of remuneration or the pay package, which of them, of course, you mentioned the Kenya one gave you something that looked like half your salary, but let's take it beyond Africa. How was the comparative experience also like, looking at your salary, even that of Kenya and from outside Europe, America, and the rest?
That comparison too is a very difficult thing to do because the kind of money they pay, if you meet, say if I meet anybody coming from America today, who works for AP and lives in the US, will tell me, the person will tell me he's not making anything. Yeah, it's not like they pay much. It's just that the exchange rate. Yeah, it's what makes it look like it's not a lot.
Oh, I see. I see. Sir, journalism in Ghana has undergone a lot, especially with the introduction of social media. You started journalism at a point probably where there were not even enough computers. I hope I am right with that.
That's true.
Computers and the laptops came in. Now there are smartphones, there is social media, and the revolution keeps going on. How have you been able to keep pace with all these technological advancements that you have lived through during these 40 years of practice?
The first time I sat behind a computer was when I went to Cambridge.
Oh, wow.
And, I had gone there to write a paper on privatization in the US.
Okay.
And we were 4 fellows at the time. And everybody had a computer. 2 were from India, 1 from South Africa, and I was from Ghana. These people have tasted the use of computers, and I didn't have a clue. But what helped me was I could type fast.
Okay.
So I sat the handbook was there. I sat through to read. So I learned how to open, save. That was my initial, I could open and save. But the trouble started when I got employed with African Economic Digest, where you have to, they were using a program, one of the old desktop packages, which I got trained on it just for a day, and nobody had time for you. I had to keep up. Otherwise, I was going to be exposed. Fortunately, there was a Ghanaian who was living in London at the time. He knew about these things. So I spent one night at his place for him to take me through, and it worked.
Okay.
It worked.
Okay. Wow. So with the advent of social media, where news now is like an on the minute, on the second kind of thing, smartphones on the go and the rest, how easier has it become for you in your work? Is processing the news and getting it ready for transmission to whichever destination now much easier, or rather the proliferation of, let's say, fake news and the rest means that sometimes you will be checking over and over again before you are convinced, and then you process to sell?
Once upon a time, before I left Ghana in 1990, I used to write for a Zimbabwean paper, a magazine at the time called Southern Africa Economist. And they expected you to use the teles machine and call and read your story on phone. And we used to use the PNT external on the high street at the time. And I remember Ben Epson was reporting for, I think, BBC at the time. So we all went to the PNT external. You have to book a day before, go in there and give your script to somebody who will use it, the tellers. But you see, today, even when you are in your bedroom, you can, they'll call you, they want a story. And because you have the phone, you can call whoever you need to confirm your story from on your phone, and then use your phone to write the story and send. I mean, it's very easy today, not like before.
That's right. That's right. There is, for you, for the years you've been around, there is attrition, a lot of attrition in the field of journalism. So many trained professionals are leaving the fold in droves. You are a senior journalist, and I'm sure you have had the opportunity of having to speak with a good number of colleagues and even subordinates alike who have told you this or these are some of the reasons which is occasioning this kind of trend. What has come to you in respect of this attrition we are experiencing?
The first thing is pay.
Hmm.
Yeah, you see, the country has developed so fast.
Hmm.
And I remember when I got into journalism,
Hmm.
in the newsroom, apart from the editor who had the company car,
Hmm.
no other person had a car at the time.
Oh.
Uh, and there was this reporter graphic who bought a car. It was a big story all over,
Oh, wow.
all over the newsroom. See, we were satisfied with whatever we had, and because life was very easy. But today, times have changed
Mm.
so fast that you need more to live.
Mm.
We didn't bother those days to work from ministries to the Ghanaian Times office. Today, nobody would do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
you know,
That's true.
see, things have changed so much that you have to keep up. And I don't blame people who are living the field. The management within the media houses are not making it look interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, see.
Mm.
So obviously people will go look for better things to do. But for me, again, I will blame ourselves. We've not been relevant as
Mm.
journalists.
Mm.
Yeah, we've not been relevant. If you were relevant, I mean, we are people who are always seeing the politicians, the big men.
Mm.
We should be talking to them, seeking their help to improve our conditions. But
Mm.
because we are not relevant, nobody takes us seriously.
Mm. So what's your take on the increasing political ownership of the media? Do we have a reason to be alarmed? Is there a cause
That's
for
a,
concern?
that's a big danger. You see,
Mm.
it's a big danger because we are becoming politically divided.
Mm.
And, if we are not careful,
Mm.
that does not mean that it doesn't happen elsewhere. It does.
Okay.
It does elsewhere. In other countries, every paper has
Affiliation.
their affiliations. But then the state institutions and then the way the countries run
Mm.
takes care of or manages to put these things in check.
Mm.
In our case, it's, there's I don't see how these things could be checked, and it's made it look. You listen to some mid radio stations and the kind of things that come out.
Mm.
It scares me.
Mm. Mm.
It's scary.
Mm. What is the way forward out of this?
You see, professionalism is one.
Mm.
Uh, if I know that if I put out this, it would create trouble for me. I
Mm.
wouldn't do that. And then I think, again, as media people, we need to have some. We should be. We should think of our reputation first.
Okay.
I remember when I was uh, writing for Dow Jones,
Mm.
I did a story. Instead of writing 3,500 tons,
Mm.
I mistakenly uh, added another zero. So the whole thing came to 35,000 tons. When it was not even the news editor who spotted it. It was an analyst in Australia. With Dow Jones stories, your numbers are put there. So he called me and said, no, the figure you put there is not right.
Whoa.
I immediately changed, went home, got on my laptop to change it, wrote a corrected one, but I followed that up with a resignation letter because I felt I've let my news editor down. The news editor sent me a letter saying she was ready to tear the resignation letter I sent. If that was not exactly what I wanted to do, but just because of the mistake, everybody makes mistake. You know, but what I'm saying is because I wanted to see that some of us, we were trained and groomed to avoid mistakes. Anytime I make a mistake, I don't sleep. It worries me till the next morning. You know, so it is something that I believe if everybody takes on to rule his life, we have a very good media system. You know, just know that you have your reputation to keep.
So I am interested in the end of that story. Once the news editor said he's ready to tear the resignation, did your working relationship continue with them, or you insisted on stepping down?
No, I continue working with them.
Okay. So that meant that sometimes 4, 5, 10 times checking of your scripts and the figures before.
Yeah. I became very careful. I became very careful with that. I became very careful with that. Yeah. And that was a very good experience.
Talking about this, let me bring in a question that is closely related. What would be your assessment of the quality of journalism in Ghana today?
I said earlier that every generation thinks they are better than the new one.
That's right.
Which over time I've come to realize that that could be an erroneous way of looking at life. You know, because if you look into the newsrooms today, we are very highly qualified people, except that our expectations are too high. Yeah, I'm saying this because you see, we didn't have enough foreign newspapers around to compare when I was working.
Okay.
So we did what we thought was best. But maybe because today people read newspapers from all over the world and see how they want to compare them with what we have in Ghana. Other than that, we are doing what Ghana should do. So, yeah.
So we are not doing badly per your verdict.
I wouldn't say we are doing badly. I mean, this is all we can do. Yeah, that's all we can do. You know, if you look at the other media houses outside, the kind of money they put into production, we don't have them here. We don't have them here. Look at this Western region explosion, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah, Apieti. How many media houses could send journalists there to find out, talk to the people, dig into the, no, we don't have that kind of, resources. We don't have those kind of resources. So, yeah, I know our media houses are restrained when it comes to resources. So what do you expect of them?
So you've gone 40 years, 4 good decades. How many more years do you intend to go before hanging your boots?
That's a very good question. I didn't plan to come this far. I didn't plan to come this far, but along the line, I tried a bit of communications.
Okay.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. You know, so I mixed journalism with communication those days, and
yes,
I did enjoy communication. If I had enjoyed communication, I would have moved out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and for now, I don't think I'll do much. You know, yeah. I mean, I'm writing some books.
Okay.
You know, yeah. Immediately I finish, I think I'll just yeah.
Are we getting your memoir anytime soon?
Oh, no, my memoir, not soon. You know, you know, I'm engaged in writing some novels.
Okay.
Which, yeah, you know, the journalism is just, yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Have you ever thought of branching into academia to train upcoming journalists? I know you do capacity building of journalists who are on the field, like some training workshops and the rest. You are a facilitator in one way or the other. But I'm talking about academic training, as in a lecturer or something like that.
It honestly never crossed my mind to get into academia because I had opportunity to get to study journalism, but one editor told me at the time, he asked me, do you want to get into academia? And I said no. And so he asked me, what do you want to go and do? You know? And it took me a week. It took me a week to think about it. And I mean, I felt that I was writing, I could get anybody to write for. So it was a big deal. Classroom is not something like.
Wow. Wow. So let's look at this. In all these years of practice, has there been an occasion where you nearly had a rethink about the profession you had chosen? Was there a breaking point? You know, there are times in the line of duty, something will happen and you yourself will, I wish I had done this. I wish I didn't get into this. Was there a point like that?
No, because I've had the opportunity to join the police PR, I turned it down. I had the opportunity to join the army to get into PR, then I turned it down. The late GBK Usu, editor for Christian Messenger,
Okay.
he tried to get me into Anglo, it used to be Ashanti Golfers then.
Yes.
Yeah, I refused, you know, so I don't know, I've never gotten to that point.
What is fulfilling you in journalism that makes every other thing look like it is not what you want to do?
It's just the writing. That's all. Because if you follow me on Facebook,
yes,
you
I do.
realize, yeah, you see that I post short stories.
Yes, sir.
You know, and when I sit down, I want to write. Every time I sit down, I want to write. And that's it. That's a fulfilling.
Journalism has print, broadcast, that is radio, TV, and now we have new media, that's the internet and the rest. Which of the aspects haven't you done?
You know, my first appointment was for JBC.
Okay.
But I didn't go to JBC because the soldiers were there. and I didn't feel comfortable. So that's why I went to Times. Along the line, I have worked for Radio Netherlands.
Okay.
And I don't like radio, honestly.
Wow.
I don't know why. I don't like radio, you know. So it's just a print. I like to write, and that's all it is.
Having written for a long time like this, I spoke with a colleague, a senior journalist, and he tells me he finds it difficult reading some of the stories some of these younger ones read. He is also a writer for so many years. You have virtually perfected the art of writing with all these years of putting the pen down and getting something written. How are you able to, how do you see the quality of writing when it comes to the online platforms, the newspapers, and those journalistic platforms that deal with the written matter?
You see, with the online portals, the only problem I have with them is that they rush to put stories online. And like over the weekend or so, when they were talking about the sacking of Milo Rajovac.
That's right.
I noticed that it was just one person who tweeted. I read the tweet. And after 1 hour, all the portals started writing the same thing. So it's the rush to put it through. I saw this. That story interests me. But the thing I did was I called the communications director of the GFA to find out what was happening. And he couldn't confirm or deny. So for me, there was no story.
Oh,
yeah.
See.
Yeah, I asked him. And beyond that, I asked other people close to the GFA whether they've heard something. They told me no. They've also heard what is going on there. The GFA has not come out. You know, a proper news story is one that you can confirm.
That's right.
You know, if you can't confirm it, it's not a story. And that's what I was trying to do. But the portals, people, it's this recent monetization of their portals. So every click brings them money. So
the click
anything goes, anything goes. Yeah, if nobody was clicking, the portals would die.
So with fake news like this going viral and gaining the kind of currency that even makes it look authentic sometimes, how much of trouble are we having on our hands if we don't keep some of these things in check?
It's a very dangerous thing, if you ask me, because you know, there have been stories of people reporting the death of prominent people.
Yes.
The effect this can have on some families is very huge. If we don't control this, just like how it was reported that the coach has been sacked, it's possible one day somebody can wake up and say the president has been sacked. And it can go viral, you know. Yeah, you know, it's possible somebody can do it. I mean, if news portals could publish that President Kufuor was dead when the man was still alive, you know, those are some of the dangers I see. They could say things that are not true. And even some have gone to the extent of saying things about ministers and very prominent people which are not true. You know, those are the dangers.
So if we take you back into time 50 years, will you still choose journalism?
Very much so. Very, very much so.
This craft looks like a DNA thing for you. I mean, it's like a passion that you can't do without.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy writing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I enjoy writing.
Is there anybody in your family, nuclear or extended, who also has taken to journalism or is thinking along the lines of it?
Surprisingly.
Wow. Wow.
Surprising.
Wow. 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 If any of them came to you to say, okay, this is what I'm thinking about. I want to look at becoming a journalist in future. You have been an all-print person. That is your bias.
Yeah.
Would you ask him to go in with an open mind, or you would tell him writing will do him well or will do him better?
Oh, I've come to realize that everybody with what with his or her passion.
Mm.
I have very close friends who, without radio, they can't sleep. They, yeah, they sit down, they think about radio, they dream radio, you know. So I would rather ask the person to explore.
Okay.
Yeah. With me, why I didn't like radio at the time was the way they build their stories. You go, you interview, you come, you have to use your tape recorder to, put.
It's a lot of work. So even if we are rolling back the hands of time, you do journalism, it will still be print.
Yeah, because that I don't know, I find some comfort in that.
Wow. Wow. How has the discovery of this you, that is the lover of writing in journalism, how has it helped you in life generally?
Yeah, it's helped me. It's taking me around the world. I wouldn't say I'm rich, but I'm not hungry.
That's interesting.
I mean, I can get up, do whatever I want to do. So, I mean, it's something well.
A lot of journalists say the crafts, the profession doesn't pay. Your thoughts?
I've heard that. And you see, maybe my mentors, you see, by nature, I was born in Newtown, Accra, Newtown, raised in Nima. So,
okay.
I have a very simple lifestyle.
Okay.
And my expectations in life were very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, I've heard people say that. And
Sir, is there any point, is there any incident or any time in your professional life that you were approached to compromise the facts of any report you were making?
there have been a few times.
Okay.
There have been a few times. I mean, I won't mention, I mean, there was a time I was offered £5,000 to do a story, which I turned down. And then somebody once asked me to do a story, and that was the second time. He added, I will reward you very well. Those things, those words rather, threw me off.
Oh.
Yeah, those words threw me off. I mean, you see, I care so much about my reputation. And I was raised by my late mother, who, if he sees a new shirt on you, he will ask you, where did you get that from? Yeah. When I was growing up, my father lived in the UK and we were here. And I remember one day I was going to work. I had bought a shirt on my own. My mother asked me, when did your father send this shirt? I didn't see it. You know, so that upbringing up to today, even though my mother is late, my sisters would definitely question me when they see something unusual about me. Yeah, you know, I come from that background. Even though I'm old now, my sisters still, they will ask me questions. If I get up tomorrow morning and I start driving a V8, my elder sister, she would definitely ask questions. Yeah, how did you come by this? And, you know, I am very careful of that. And I have friends too that who would question. So it keeps me in check.
Okay. So what's your take on Solly?
Solly, there is Solly and there is Solly. You know, I would not say I have not taken Solly in my life.
Okay.
I have. If you go on assignment and somebody comes and says, okay, we are giving you this. That is, I don't see it as a bad thing. But what I condemn is people going out of their way to say we need transport, we need, making demands.
Yes.
That one, I condemn it. And throughout my career, I have never gone to anybody to say, oh, we are finished, we are going. But I think what has also kept me in check is the kind of people I work for.
Okay.
You know, you see, AP, when they hear you've taken money from somebody, because they are ready to pay your transportation. So why should I go? Why should I go and take money from somebody for transport when my people are going to pay? During when the last ECOWAS summit on I think Mali in Peduasi.
Okay.
When I called them to say I was going to Peduasi, they just asked me how much would it cost to rent a car.
Okay.
I told them, and the money came. I rented a car to Peduasi. You see, I know they will pay I've not sent them any request for payment of phone bills, but they will pay if I made that request.
Okay.
You see, I think that we don't take care of our journalists. We don't take care. If we were taking care of them, and I must say, there was this newspaper that was the deputy editor, New Vision by Alan Martin.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a public, he set it up.
Okay.
When we were meeting to plan the paper, one of the things I told him was the reporters need to take taxes and should be dropping from the office
Okay.
of wherever they are.
Okay.
He looked at me and said, "Are you trying to pamper them?" I said, "No, but that will make them work well." And he agreed.
And he saw that as pampering?
Oh, he was just joking.
Okay. Okay.
He was joking. Yeah, I mean, his usual joke. And then the next thing I asked for was a weekly impress to buy beverages for the office. He provided it. We wanted a fridge where people could keep whatever they want to. He provided it. You know, so the reporters who work at that place were happy.
Okay.
Because they knew apart from their pay, their transport to assignment and was going to be paid. Some people came from home in the morning and knew that they could get a cup of tea, bread was provided.
That's right.
You know, those are the little things that we don't do in our newsrooms. You know, if New Vision had not died, I'm sure Alan would have built it more than he started. Because, in our conversation, he bought into the ideas we were bringing that, look, when you made the people comfortable, they will sleep and think of which story I'm going to write tomorrow. But if you don't make them comfortable,
Yeah. So yourself, do you have plans or have you at any point harbored the intention of floating maybe your own publication or something like that?
It's a question that a few people have been asked a few times. Now, why don't you start your own? But you see, I understand the industry very well.
Okay.
That if I want to set up a paper, I want a paper that can be run properly.
Okay.
And I don't have that resources, so I will not do it. I remember a group of lawyers that the late G.B. Kyowusu introduced me to. They wanted to come out with a newspaper. And I think that was in 2010 thereabout.
Okay.
They called me after discussions and all that. They said the kind of money they were paying. I laughed. I mean, that was the money they wanted to pay the editor. I laughed. And they went back, they were angry and went back to Mr. Owusu to complain that and Mr. Owusu told them that he's known me for many years. That even in the 80s, I won't take that kind of money.
Oh, okay.
So it is the way people see journalism. You see, most people think that they could set up a paper or a media house, radio station, and expect profit tomorrow morning. With a media organization, you have to work for at least 6 months without making anything. You start, if you are lucky, you break even after 6 months. So it means you have to pump in money. We have to pump in money, and not many people are ready to do that in Ghana. So if I want to run a paper, I want to have so much money to run it.
So one of the concerns, those who don't seem to agree with the idea that journalists should be licensed, is the fact that they feel an excess or a downside of it could be stifling freedom of speech or trying to control content or things around that area. Have you also looked at that angle, that should journalists be licensed, these are possible downsides?
The licensing You see, what I believe will lead to the licensing is, okay, you leave after GIJ.
Okay.
You have your, or from School of Communications or AUCC or wherever. You want to get into journalism. There should be some kind of preparation for you to enter the profession. Populations people have done it. IPR.
Yes.
They never used to be IPR in Ghana. And now, before you work as a population practitioner in Ghana, most organizations expect that you have the IPR accreditation.
Yes.
Because they know you have gone through some grooming. That's what I think the licensing should be. It's like, it should be left to the Ghana Journalists Association. Not necessarily a license, but before you become a member,
okay,
take you through maybe 6 weeks of training, let you know what is expected of you as a journalist, so that when you come out, if I don't cross-check my information, I will be doing something bad. You cannot defame. You cannot libel. You understand these things. That's what I'm looking at, not necessarily a license of a sort. No, the DGA can start a process. Yeah.
Which assignments constitute your most challenging? Which assignments?
I don't know. Or you mean in the past, or?
Yes, I mean for all these years.
Which ones
stand out?
There was one assignment that I did near the Adomi Bridge. There's this village where, with people from the town area.
Okay.
There were settlers in the Akwamu area. And we had information that there was some clashes with the landowners.
Okay.
And I was dispatched with a cameraman to go.
Okay.
When we got there, the whole place was deserted. And we saw dead bodies lying all over.
You mean like a war scene? Like the ruins of a war?
Yeah. It happened. I was there with the photographer called PK Atta. When we came back, PK couldn't come to work the next day. He took the pictures, all right. They couldn't come to work. And it was a terrible sight. Yeah. Then the next one was an assignment I covered in Nigeria.
So before you go on to the next one, how were you able to put your own story together as he was grappling with the trauma of having to capture all those things?
I was young then.
Okay.
And I was young and burning with this. I've got the news. So to be honest, it didn't occur to me. For me, I was just gathering news.
Oh, okay. Okay. You were talking about the next one.
Yeah, the next one was started in Nigeria from Abuja through to Kaduna. Very lonely road. And that was a day after I had a conversation with some Nigerian journalists about Boko Haram.
Okay.
And I was in this rented car with myself and the cameraman, traveling on this lonely road. When we started the journey from Abuja, I didn't think about my life. it was halfway through that I started thinking, oh my God, what has brought me here? I mean, yeah, after they've told me that that area was dangerous.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, what if? You know, it's one assignment I think about sometimes. Yeah, anything could have happened to me.
Yeah, yeah, because you went into Kano, and that was northern Nigeria, right?
Yeah,
and that represented the epicenter of the activities of Boko Haram.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Nothing happened though, but nothing happened. But it's just that looking back, I think, why did I accept that assignment? You know, I think about it. Why did I accept it? Yeah.
You mentioned Captain Kojo Chikata as one person you would have loved to sit down for an interview with. Beyond the shores of Ghana, who is that one figure, public figure, known figure, whom you would have loved to have an interview with, dead or alive?
Mandela.
Wow.
Mandela, yeah. Because a very good friend of mine interviewed him, and you know, I read the story and I was like, wow, I should have done that.
So as we speak now, you are not sure how long you are going, but you can also not confirm that it's going to be too long before you hang your boots.
No, it won't be too long. It won't be too long. It won't be too long. No, it won't be too long because you see, in Ghana, there is this thinking that journalists don't grow on the job.
Yeah.
See, which is very painful sometimes. I remember I covered the graduation of a policeman, the graduation at the police depot.
Okay.
And then one of them who graduated that day ended up becoming an IGP.
Okay.
And yet, you know, they don't look at journalists as people growing on the job, which is very painful because it happens even within the civilian environment, the civilian space, where even your classmates, once they get into corporate world and they get promoted, they forget that journalists also get promoted. Somebody else once asked me, when I presented myself as a reporter, he looked at me and asked me, how long have you been a reporter? Because he looked at me and for him, if I said I was a reporter, I mean, I must be a stupid person.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You know, yeah, they forget that journalists also have ranks, and they grow on the job, and you know, so you go out and you know people they see you and it's like you are trash.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's that side of it is painful. You know, I mean, I've been covering ECOWAS since 1985.
Okay.
You know, I covered the 10th anniversary in Lome, and since then I've covered ECOWAS summits. And most of the people that have come now, people I didn't know. I've seen people come and go. But you'll be surprised that you attend an ECOWAS summit today and some of the new faces.
That's right.
You know, you know, they look at you and it's like, oh, because you're reporting, you have nobody. Yeah, it's that side that's painful. And Yeah.
Wow.
I know that's why most people don't grow on the job in Ghana because they can't take the disrespect.
But when the collective image of the craft is not giving you respect, I think you can single yourself out and earn yours.
You say you can single yourself out, but it doesn't work much because together, you see, together we lack the relevance. See, let's be honest. Most MPs, it was journalists who wrote about them.
Yes, they
before
propelled them to the top.
Yeah, but immediately they get there, the person who wrote most about them becomes like, who are you? You know,
A stranger to them.
Yeah, such a person might even be a senior person in the newsroom. But once they, and, I mean, I've covered people who I saw they are beginning into politics, and once they get into office, it's like, who are you? And I know some journalists can't stand that, so they look at it and say, "Come on, I'm going," and they leave the profession. But I guess that if together we're able to make ourselves relevant, we can cancel that.
But sir, the GJ, for instance, defines who a journalist is with the inclusion of those who have learned on the job and have not necessarily been trained by a professional institution. You mentioned earlier while talking about this licensing and how the GJ can come in to formalize things. With this kind of definition, where let's say I am an SS leaver who has learned on the job, and now per GJ's definition, I am a journalist. What will be my position in terms of getting a license or being licensed? How will that play out?
No, you see, before they give you an ID card, they can start in a very small way.
Okay.
Before you get a press card, you can go through maybe 3 weeks or 6 weeks of some formal, some training. Okay. To go through what is expected of a journalist. I mean, not a class, not academic work, but just to groom you to know what to do before they give you the press card. So that once you have the press card, you know that you have a responsibility.
Your work uses internet a lot, especially
That's very true.
Communicating with the outside. Is there a day you have failed on your deadline because of internet failure? Any experience like that?
If my internet fails at home, in fact, to be honest with you, I have about 3 networks.
Okay.
If my self-line fails, I fall on Vodafone.
Okay.
If Vodafone fails, I fall on MTN.
By all means, one should work.
And if they don't, I have to find the nearest, because you see, you work with people, you can't call and tell them my internet has failed me, so I couldn't find the story.
Yeah. It has to be a global problem for them to understand, actually.
Yeah. So they expect you definitely must find a way.
I have enjoyed this conversation. Really grateful, sir. Now, I want to find out, sometimes when you start a profession as a young single person, it is easier navigating the terrain. But when you grow, responsibility, sometimes marriage, family, children, grandchildren, other responsibilities coming, they have their own way of drawing some weight or some attention away from you. How have you been keeping up?
Surprisingly, that's that's not been pose a problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not pose a problem. Yeah.
I see. It appears your bread has been well battered. Thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity. Indeed,
you're welcome.
Sitting with somebody who started the job when probably I didn't know I existed in this world. It's indeed an honor to have learned at your feet, and I have picked quite some interesting nuggets, which I'm sure in my own little way, they'll be helping me keep up and stay focused. This has been PENSDOWN, and today I've had one of the veterans, truly excited about it. Mr. Francis Kokutse has been my guest, and he's taking us through some really inner reasonings and deep thoughts about journalism, the profession, the things we wanted to know about him, what we didn't know, and what he wanted us to know. It's been an exciting. We'll be back next time with another edition of PENSDOWN. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.